It's so weird that I'm doing the intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the capsule. My name is Luke Lentes, aka the Duke London. Nope. My name is Jenny Lou, and I am standing in for Luke today because he's with my family in Canada. We're really like switching roles. And I'm here with the one and only Lee, aka Ricochet, aka Licochet.
Come on.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's really good. I'm very excited to talk about summer dance.
Chase, let's get right into it because it finished yesterday. Yesterday was the last battle of the week, so it ended with the hip hop.
Right.
So it was, for those who don't know, summer dance is one of the biggest battles internationally, and I think it's been like kind of the place where the best of the best go to measure themselves against each other every year for the past, I think for the past like at least 10 years, it's been kind of one that's been like, if you win summer dance, then not like it doesn't mean anything if you don't win other battles, but it's kind of one of the big ones.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was filled with a lot of interesting moments, a lot of interesting battles, a lot of drama. All right. So let's start and get into it. We're going to go chronologically.
Okay.
So because the first battle was a locking battle, locking forever.
The good one.
It's a good one. So there was an incident that happened at Locking Forever. For those who haven't seen it, who have not been on Instagram in the last week, there is a dancer, Brother Bin. I think he's from Korea. Am I right?
Let me check.
Before I say something completely wrong. But anyways, he was dancing against Candyman. Mm-hmm. And then he did, yes, Korea. It's been confirmed in my earpiece. He is indeed from Korea. And he was dancing against Candyman, who is French Candyman. But I mean, originally,
He's a black guy.
Yeah, thank you.
We're allowed to say that.
Yeah, he is a black man. And so Brother Ben was dancing against him and in a locking round. And then he kind of did not a monkey motion. I've been corrected, but an ape motion.
It's gorillas are apes.
Yeah.
They don't have tails.
Yeah, so where he was like kind of, you know, like doing the motion of walking like this on the floor and then peeling a banana and then pointing to Candyman. So there seems to not have been a huge reaction in the room. But once the internet got a hold of that clip, they said, huh? And I think obviously there is okay, so there was a lot of like uproar about the fact that it's like very kind of like racist. And, you know, I've been seeing people say like it's like casual racism, as in you're not trying to actively like hurt somebody, but you're kind of playing into a trope and like, you know, like a narrative that is hurtful and that has been like historically terrible. And then Brother Ben issued an apology saying like, it's a signature move. I've done it in other rounds. I didn't realize, like, I guess he might not have like connected the two, and he was just like, oh, I'm gonna do my move there. And then the response to that, you know, from like a bunch of different people in the comments, in the stories and all of that has been, you know, some people kind of saying like, give him the grace to like have made a mistake. And then other people saying like, you don't have to forgive him if you don't want to. Everyone has a different relationship to that. And if that upsets you and you still upset, then you're entitled to that, to be upset. And it's his responsibility to know the context of this dance that he's doing, where it comes from culturally, who it comes from culturally, and what movement he's doing. Like, what does it mean to the people that originated the style? Thoughts? Feelings?
Well, thoughts immediately. I actually agree with all of those thoughts that people were expressing. I think all of those can stand without contradicting each other. I think you can be upset and have your own feelings. I think he can be responsible for his actions. And I also think you can find people that give him the grace as well. I think that all of those can be completely fine. I think the only thing that I would push back on, some of the stuff that I've seen online, is people arguing that people didn't say anything in the room and saying that, or kind of at least inferring the idea that a person in that instance, like Brother Bin, who has upset you, is responsible for making you feel better. I just think that's a load of rubbish. I think if you're upset, they're your feelings. You know, like if you say something to me and I'm upset, I'll tell you about it because like we're friends and I want you to support me in me feeling better. But I'm not going to expect you to make me feel better. That's for me to do, you know. So it's like if the other, like if Candyman or whoever else is upset by it, it's like, bruv, the apology was sincere. I think that's all you can ask from someone, you know. Like it's like, yo, man, like here's the context, the explanation. It's not an excuse. It's just the understanding of why I did it. I get why it was insensitive. It's wrong. My bad. I'll kind of make sense of my stuff in the future to be more culturally sensitive. I don't think you can kind of ask of a person, more of a person than that, kind of in a situation, you know. Like my feelings on it, like when Luke told me about it. So, all right, so look, naturally dealt with a lot of racism in life. So at this point, personally, when it happens to me, I always get shocked, but I always find a way to laugh about it.
Right.
So my response is always to giggle about it initially. And because I'm so familiar with people playing animal characters, especially gorillas in like Crump. I haven't seen it in Locking. That when Luke told me about it, I was like, but what is it like? Was it racist or are people just kind of like whatever? And then he said you should watch it, and then I saw him peel the banana and then point at the guy, and I was like, well, that's not great. That's a bad move. But like I think my feelings on it are that I think the only weird thing about it is people having a go at everyone not reacting in the room. Like, how many times have we all been in a situation where you've been caught off guard by something and you don't even register really what's happening until afterwards, and you go, actually, that was kind of messed up, wasn't it? So I think and the amount of people saying, oh, if I was there, blah, blah, I would have said this, or if I was in the room, I would have reacted this way. I bet most of those people saying that have been in a situation where they should have reacted differently, but they didn't because they were caught off guard in the moment. So I think everyone not reacting in the room, I get it. It's heat at the moment. No one expects anyone at Summer Dance to see like extreme racism or racism in a battle. So like when you see it, you're a bit like, kind of like Will Smith at the Oscars. Yeah. People are like, was that staged? Or did he just slap him in the face?
Yeah, like I feel like when something like that happens, you're kind of a bit like, you know, like not you don't know how to act, but it's like as a spectator, what are you going to do? Like jump on stage and stop everything? No! Like, you know, like... What can you do? Not what can you do, but it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's always like when you're outside of a situation, it's always so easy to say like how people in that situation should have acted, but you never know what it's like to actually be there. Yeah. And like you don't know how you would have acted until you're in that situation.
And then most people, when they're in the situation, they don't act how they say they would have acted if they weren't.
Yeah, and if you were in this situation and you would have acted differently, good for you. Like...
Yeah, good point. Yeah. It's like there's no point shaming everyone else just because they don't act how you would have acted in that situation or how you want them to act. So yeah.
Also, like, yeah, when I saw the clip, I was definitely like, like, I'm sure that he didn't mean it like that. And also, I think when you're battling, you don't even think about what you're doing. Like things are just coming out. Yeah. You know, and it's like maybe he didn't even think about who he was against. He was just like, okay, next round, I'm gonna do this move. Like, you know, so it's like poor judgment and poor like kind of context of how he did that. So I think he can definitely take the L for that. And I for sure understand as well, like all the implications. And I think there is like, it opened a conversation about like the fact that it is important, you know, especially if you're doing something that's culturally not necessarily close to your reality, you know, to like inform your, like to try to learn also like beyond the moves and the execution, but to kind of go a little bit deeper into like investigating what it is that you're doing.
Will you expand on this? Because I saw someone mention this, and I'm finding it difficult to make sense of that thought. What do you mean?
Well, I think it's like if you're learning a street, like a style, or you know, because it's like, okay, if you're learning something that's a craft, you know, that's not attached to anything culturally, it's just a craft. Then it's like, okay, just learn to do the thing. But I think with these dances, they're so interlinked with like social, political, like kind of economic, racial contexts of a certain time, that it's kind of like if you detach that separately and you kind of don't necessarily develop a certain relationship or make the effort to like educate yourself to like the relationship between, you know, what you're doing and the context that came from, you're kind of gonna miss a piece of the puzzle. And then it's like, and then you make mistakes like that.
Right. Okay.
You know,
Okay.
and it's like, another thing that happened is like, there's a kid from Indonesia, I think, that was in the comments of the locking section, and he wrote the N-word, like just as a comment. And then he went online and then like apologized about it and said he didn't know what the word meant and all of that. So it's like, it's kind of, you know, different. Like, we're talking about two different things, but I think it's like, it's the same source of the problem, where you're doing some, like, you're kind of repeating behaviors that you see other people do, and you're like, oh, okay, these are the cool people that I look up to, and they're doing that, and then it means I could do it too because I look up to them. And it's like not normal, but it's like, I think people go through those mistakes, especially when they're younger. But I think this is the place where it's like, you can't necessarily at like 14, 15, 16 know to like go back and do the and kind of try to build a wider understanding of what it is that you're doing. But I think it did like open the conversation to the importance of that, because then things like that happen where the guy just didn't clock at all that
would
movement
be inappropriate.
Yeah. And also I think you know, one of the things that for me it highlighted is like the fact that we all, like, as much as, you know, I think like the move was inappropriate and wrong. Wrong move, wrong context. I think it's like an interesting prompt to like, okay, open the dialogue about understanding socially what it is that you're doing and the context of it. But also like, for everybody who had something to say about Brother Ben and like, you know, wanting to like point fingers and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, what are the things in your own life that you say you support and you say you stand for, but that you kind of make the same kind of mistakes where, for example, some people say they care about women in the scene, but they'll never program them or put them behind the decks or make them judge.
Because you know who you are.
Not naming names, but I'm just saying it's like there are things that are problematic where you are part of the problem without wanting to be.
Is the point you're making here to allow, like, so when you see that in others, to give them the grace of like, you can make mistakes, or to like just kind of curb your judgment to know that you're not the example that you're demanding of others as well?
Well, for me, it's more like, well, look at yourself and how you're doing that in your own life, in your own context. And what things do you feel like you kind of want to defend, but you don't, like when it comes down to it, you're not necessarily showing up in that way. So it's more like, like my thing is like, you know, like I would say like, yeah, have the grace to let people make mistakes because we all do. But if you don't, that's also your prerogative. But it's also like, just an opportunity to look at ourselves, like our own selves, and say, how have I done this in my own life?
Yeah, because it's likely that we have, especially if you stand strong for something, it's likely that you have.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, it could be like racism, sexism, like, you know, like homophobia, whatnot. You know, it's like, oh, I don't want to hurt those people. I appreciate those people, but I will not invest any time in like researching and understanding the wider context. And then so like, I'm just kind of going to find myself in a situation where I make a mistake like that. And that can happen to all of us, and it happens to all of us. But I'm just saying, like, instead of looking at somebody else and like agonizing over their mistake and over how they failed in that way, how do we fail in that way continuously? You know, like, and maybe you don't and you're perfect. Let me know. But yeah, it would be interesting. Like, I mean, I'd be curious to hear like people's perspectives. And it's like, okay, let's say with the woman thing I said, it's like, because it concerns me, like, because I'm part of that group, I feel more strongly about that. But it's like, same for like, you know, not making like events and whatever people accessible to people with different like needs, you know, like physical access or whatnot. So I just think it's like a good, like it's a bad situation, but what can be made good out of it is like learning how we can all improve.
Yeah, naturally. Yeah, I mean, like, I agree. Yeah, and the mad thing is, I don't even think it's that big of a deal. I think a guy made a mistake, he made a bad decision, but I think, I think if we are going to make a big deal out of it, then you're right. Let's make a lesson out of it, and let's actually take the approach of, all right, cool, like, this guy messed up, we don't like it, but people are allowed to make mistakes. We are allowed to still feel upset about it if we want, but really, like, we want change, we want to move forward from this, so what is the best way to move from that? And then, like you said, take that into your own things, especially just because, like you said, you feel more strongly about the sexism thing in dance because you're a woman, cool. And I think what that points to as well is that we can't care about everything, as much as we care about kind of our prioritized things, but we also can't expect other people to care about the things that we care about in the ways that we do. Yeah, you know. So yeah.
Okay. Also, this year was the first time that they had the 2-on-2 concept.
Oh yeah.
So the 2-on-2 concept was basically that it was a 1-on-1 battle until the top 6. So to the point where the judges, where it gets to the last 3 who pick who they're gonna go against with the judges. Then at that point, each person picks somebody from the top 24 to bring back, and then that becomes a 2-on-2. So it's like, yeah. So then it becomes a 2-on-2, and then so they go. The first 4 go against each other, and then the last person brings back somebody from the top 24 who then picks a partner to make like a top 4 to then make the semifinals and then the finals.
Right.
Am I explaining it in a way that makes sense?
It's good. So initially, after at the top, so this is when it gets to the judges' battles.
Yeah.
So initially it would be 3 competitive dancers versus judges. So there'd be 3 battles, and then they would find a way to find the winner out of that.
Yeah.
But then what we're saying now is that when it gets to that point, it's now each individual gets to pick a person.
Yeah.
So instead of 6, there's 12.
Yeah.
So but there are still 3 battles. 6 battles.
Yeah, no, there's 4 battles because these ones battle each other.
Okay, yeah.
And then this one picks somebody to bring back, like from the top 24.
Yeah.
And then they battle each other. So it is a semifinal.
Oh, okay, cool. So so it turns into this is our diagram.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
For those that are watching.
Okay, cool. Do we know why they did this?
I don't know the actual reason, but here is my take on the pros and the cons.
Go on.
Pros, I think that when you're at the level of summer dance, like if you get eliminated in the top, like in your first battle, there are some people that are really high level that just like go against somebody really strong, and so they get to do 1 round in the top 24 and they lose,
which happened in the hip hop.
Yeah. And then it's an opportunity to bring back those people and to give them another shot.
Yes.
Like, for example, it happened with GK in the popping.
Okay.
And he was sick. Like, I think he got eliminated in his he won his first. He lost his second battle.
To who?
I want to say Breezley.
Okay.
I think. But yeah, and then he ended up winning.
Oh, is it?
With Jin.
Oh, nice. Oh, Jin's very good.
Jin was on fire.
Jin is very good.
He was so good. But yeah, and here are my thoughts about the 2-on-2. So I did really appreciate bringing back the people and getting to see them again.
You didn't do cons?
Yeah, it's coming.
Okay, cool. Sorry, carry
on. And then I also think it like makes the event a bit like full. You know, it adds time.
Yes.
Like, so it makes it a little bit fuller. On the cons, I think like a 2-on-2 is nice when like people have had time to prepare together. And what's the difference between having a 2-on-2 or a 1-on-1? It's like if you're just going round for round, then you might as well just have a 1-on-1.
Yeah.
And then it's also like some people had the time to do little routines, but it was like a count of 8, and some of them like were delivered really well. But for the most part, it was a bit lackluster in the like connection and in the like exchange, because it's like, okay, you do a count of 8, but it's like, you know, you can tell when people are dancing and they're like, the one in the back is kind of trying to follow the one in the front.
It's always uncomfortable.
But it's like they're not really connected and they don't necessarily really know each other's dance. So it's kind of like, why is there someone just wiggling in the back, like being like, oh no, not that move, oh, not that move. So it was a bit like some, like for the majority of the styles, I feel like it didn't work very well, like in terms of that connection. And the one style that I feel like it worked the best was whacking.
Oh, okay. Oh, naturally. Okay.
Just because I think like in the performance of whacking, there's more space to like kind of have a like moment that is more like less actively dancing and more like performing with somebody and trying to create a like.
And I don't watch those battles, so is that like but I would assume that it's very, very integrated with audience and kind of just participation in that. So I guess there's like a natural inclination to play with someone.
Yeah.
And that's okay, cool, fair.
Yeah. So in the whacking, I feel like that's where I saw the duets that were the most kind of like really feeding off each other and making room for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And like kind of having moments to really like be together. Otherwise, most of the time it was like, this just feels more weird to what, not more weird, but it's like the connection is like not really there. They haven't prepared anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's like a dynamic that was added. And then I think it also played into the strategy of certain people. And with that, we are going into the battle between Nelson and Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to tell us what happened?
Yeah, all right. So can I...
or should we watch it first?
Are we watching it?
Are we watching it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
All right, let's watch it.
Let's watch it and then we can report back.
Because I watched it first and then I found out the wider context and it changed my opinion on it completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Nelson started.
And they sing it as well, yeah?
Yeah, we're going to...
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Six.
Okay.
It was literally this point where I was like, right, why is he doing nothing?
Yeah.
Because you're like, when it's Nelson, you're always waiting for him to just like, wow, and explode.
Yeah. And he's treating this properly like a warm-up round. Is there a beef between them?
For sure not. I think he looked pissed at the UK lot anyway, because did you see before the round started?
Yeah.
They had
to switch sides.
and he was like it was a bit bit disrespectful to everyone, like get the hell out of the way.
And he was like, oh, okay, do your robot, come do your stupid robot. Well, he didn't say that, I'm interpreting.
It looks like that's what he said.
Yeah.
Nick did particularly well, and obviously the contrast between the two looks even better.
Yeah.
And he's dressed very, you know what I mean? I think
Let's go.
That's the best Nick has dressed, I think.
Well done, Nick.
That song is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, Nick.
And he did good at like keeping his calm as well, because I feel like if somebody's being like if somebody's doing a half a round against you and is like, come do your fucking shit, like for me, I mean, I don't really I've never been like that high level battle, but I feel like it would have for sure gotten in my head.
Well, the thing is, I feel like Nick actually works better in those situations. That happened with Solar a couple of years back, and basically like Nick said after, he goes, so I was watching him and he goes, I realised he didn't know what he was doing. He wasn't doing anything. And he goes, I just knew exactly what to do to beat him. And I feel like in this, like when Nelson come out, and I feel like then Nelson kind of not doing anything. Nick's like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. I know exactly how to take over this round. And it's like, I feel like it excites him as well a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're right there. The composure as well, I think, stops him from going overboard and kind of losing control of his round or whatever. I think he handled it really well.
But I think that Nelson kind of purposely threw this battle
Absolutely.
to get called back by Empty Pop.
Absolutely.
Because they've been partnering for a while. They did Jeux Debout, so probably that was the plan.
Yeah, probably not like a sit down beforehand like, okay, so I want to win this competition, so I think this is the way we're going to do it. I think it's probably like, yo, man, I'm probably just not going to try and then then just call me back.
Yeah. Which is interesting in the strategy. And at the end, a battle is a game. Like, it is a kind of strategy and whatnot. So fair enough on that. I just think it's crazy that he still got a vote.
Yo, Pop and C voted for Nelson? That's crazy. That like really, really crazy. Because the thing is, look. No, sorry, I won't go off yet.
Go off.
Okay, all right. So we're going to talk about a wider context of judging as well, because I take it we're going to get there in a bit anyway. Like, Summer Dance is not the event for a judging system. It's just not, man. Like, they let the crowd vote. It's Red Bull Dance with a bit more structure, right? Or a bit more kind of names involved. But if they let the crowd vote, and they don't even measure the crowd vote by anything substantial, like actual numbers. They just say, oh, this is a bit louder or whatever.
No, they measure it with decibels.
Yeah, decibel. But it's like, so like you get your mates with you.
Yeah.
You bring more mates, and but it's like, even that, it's like, is that really a reliable way to see like who the crowd liked more? You know, like the amount of people that go to a dance event and they're not the type to scream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like, no, but I thought he won, but I don't want to scream or whatever. How many of those people? And then you just get you get like 20 man from the UK with you, and you scream and you win, right? But it's like,
well, I don't know. UK people are really quiet.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was a wrong example. But like that it's just not the event for that. But if you're gonna have judges and they're going to make decisions, they at the very least have to be able to communicate about why they made their decisions. I don't care if you've got a system in place or not for the judges. As an event organizer, I think that's your responsibility. But if you don't, as a judge, it's your responsibility to be able to communicate with the dancers that you're judging why you made the decisions you did. Like, it's just part of the role of being a judge. Same as a teacher. It would be weird to try and teach someone how to dance, and then when they ask for improvement, you say, I didn't really feel like you were doing much in my class today. Maybe try harder with, I teach with my heart. You know, like, and you didn't really feel like you wanted to be in my class today, so I don't really know what to say to you. You know, I don't really like you, so I put you at the back. So, it's like what are you talking about? Like, there's a pedagogy involved in teaching, and there's a responsibility involved in judging, where you are there to make informed decisions, which we'll talk more about in a bit. But like, so to have Pop and C vote for Nelson when it was very clear. Not only was he throwing the round, but it's very clear that he didn't do as good as Nick or Marvel in that round. It was just very clear. And it's not on him as a dancer, but we're just talking about in that context. It's not about Nick as a dancer. Just in that context, it was very clear that one dancer won and one didn't. So I would absolutely love to know why he voted for him.
Yeah.
I would love it.
I'd be very curious also.
I'm very curious because there isn't a valid reason, because we all see it. But I would like to know what his reason was.
Yeah.
And
come on the pod.
Please. And if it is, he was my mate, I liked his dancing more, say that.
Yeah. Fair.
I think.
Yeah, that was a funny one. Now, while we're on the topic of judging, let's just keep going.
Come on, then.
Because there was House Dance Forever.
Oh, yeah.
That also had a little bit of controversy, but earlier in the process.
Come on.
Not with the judging of a specific battle, but more with the choice of the people that made the top 24. All right. So part of what people were kind of saying online and, feeding back was that there was biased judging in the selection of the top 24, that a bunch of people who should have made it through didn't make it through. And that 100%, like kind of 100% of like serial steppers of like one of the judges' crew, which I assume referring to serial steppers, was 25, made up 25% of the top 24, and all of those who entered made it through.
So 6 of his crew members entered, and they all made it through.
Yeah.
And people are saying, do we know how many entrants there were into the prelims?
Over 300.
Okay.
Fair. And the judges were Hiro from Japan, Sean S. from the States, and Yuxin from France. All right. Now, here is my little 2 cents, and then I'll hand over to you because I know you have loads to say about the judging. But I think it's like the fact it's fine for people, of course, to voice their disagreements and to like, you know, get their knickers in a twist about the competitions.
Good English phrase.
Thanks, that they enter and participate in. I think it's important to like, you know, raise issues when they happen. But for me, it's like, but is this a new issue? Like, is this new? Is this not always the way summer dance has happened, that like every year there's people that we think should make it through that don't make it through? And there has been over the years no transparency about what the criteria selection is. I think there's also something to be said about the fact that there's 2 people dancing at the same time in the prelims, that the judges are watching for like 3-4 hours of like back-to-back people dancing. So and like for people being upset about like, you know, like you like serial steppers, people made it through, or, you know, questioning. I'm not saying like whether or not there was bias in the judge in that specific decision, because I think there's overall bias in all of those decisions. So I'm not pointing that out, but personally, I wasn't like outraged because it's not like serial steppers never make it through prelims normally.
Okay.
But they made it through this time. It's like Capella, Malcolm, like they're all international level, like they're all super, super strong, established dancers that could probably all judge summer dance in their own, like, you know, they would kind of deserve a spot there. Francois, like they've all people that have competed at that level. So for me, it's not like, oh, seeing them in the top 24 is like surprising, because they've been doing it, they've been there. Now, are there other people that did better rounds than them? Yeah, maybe, but I didn't watch like 300 people dance. So also it's like, if you're not sitting and watching the whole prelim, like how would you know who should have made it through and who didn't?
Yeah.
You know, like, and there's been years that like Loose Joint didn't make it through the prelims last year or the year before. I don't remember, but it's like Future from the US didn't make it through the popping prelims like a couple years ago. So like, it's not like this is a reoccurring issue. So not that like, not to stay silent about it, but for me, it's more like, instead of addressing those specific judges, like it's their fault. I think there's like something bigger at play, because it keeps happening again and again and again in different categories over the years.
Good points.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good points. Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, what do you like? So if you had to, what do you think, like, do you think it needs the same level of transparency? Like when you're judging a prelim with like 300-500 people in it, and also how you're approaching judging one-on-one battles like at another time, like maybe it requires a different way to look at it. Like what do you think would, or not what do you think would be a good, like what would be needed, do you think?
I think a lot. I mean, I think there are so many moving parts in this, so I'll do my best to consolidate my thoughts on this. But apologies if I kind of put them in different places. But
same here.
Same. So I think it actually requires a lot from everyone. I think, like I said, before I start, actually, I made a video on this almost 2 years ago, right? And this was based on me using the freefold system, and it was. So on Insta, it's a 7-minute video on Instagram. I'll send it to you so you can do the thing, right?
Link in the bio.
Right. It's 30,000 views on it.
Come on.
In 2 years ago. And so I know people have seen it, right? And not a single person has contacted me to try and implement from an event organizer standpoint or whatever, right? Some people have talked to me about it in person or initially, I think Castro from the US wanted to talk to me about it initially, but it's like, but basically what I was in the video, I pretty much explained this kind of the answer to this question of like what I think is needed, right? And then how I've implemented that at events myself without bothering the other judges or the event organizers, simply just so I could give the dancers some transparency on my decision making, right? But if we're talking about what is needed, I think a lot. I think if we're talking from prelims, I actually don't think there is a nice way to do prelims.
Interesting.
Right? Because if we're talking about judging, what we're really talking about is comparative judging, right? So there are different types of judging. There are different types of judging systems. I won't go through all the names, but you can really kind of whittle them down into different spaces. So there are points-based systems, so where you get a certain amount of points. So you can think of any kind of sport or whatever, right? Like you don't need to judge a system that way, but like if a team puts the ball into the net more times than the other one, they win more points, right? Points,
sure.
Right? You can then do like skating systems. So you're basically just ranking people in order. So you have this like when we're judging like teams doing performances, for example. I do that at UDO, right? So they have a so you have 10 teams. The idea is that you have categories in which you can give them points for each category. Yeah. But ultimately, the points are arbitrary. They don't mean anything. What you're doing is you're just deciding who goes where in the ranking system, and you're just trying to order. And then you see how many people get votes for first place amongst all the judges, how many people get second place votes from all the judges, and you just rank order them like that. Then you get something like the Trivium or threefold system, which is what Storm and Kev created, which is a comparative judging system, right? Yeah. So the idea is that you have two dancers, and all you're looking for is an imbalance between the two. The judging system does not say who is a good dancer. It does not say what you should be looking for. It does not say what people are missing in their round based on what you expect them to put in. It doesn't say any of that. All it says is we've got two dancers doing the same style, right? House dance, for example. And then it allows you to make a decision based on who did the things that we value more. That's it. So what I mean by that is whenever you dance, you move, right? So we can judge your movement or your physical ability. Whenever you dance to music. Yeah. Right, so we can judge your, or we can at least see your interaction with the music. Yeah. Whenever you dance, you do movements, so you have vocabulary. So we can at least see the decisions you're making on how you want to play with the music. Yeah. And if we're just going by, there's more to it than that, obviously. But if we're just going by those three, your physical, your how you play with the music, and what decisions you make, we can just see out of the two dancers who is doing that more effectively. Yeah. Right. So if someone playing with the music more effectively, we can have discussions about how that was going to happen. Is someone making better decisions in terms of the vocabulary? Is someone more physical and dynamic in their movement than the other person? Yeah. And do we appreciate that in the round? Does the round require you to be more physical and dynamic, whatever? All you're doing is you're looking at these attributes. Let's say we agree, we value those. And then you're saying, cool, dancer A goes first. Cool, blah, 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 wonderful. Dancer B goes next. Okay, I think dancer B did the physical stuff more. The other two stuff, I think we're pretty much the same. There's an imbalance in the physical. Dancer B wins. Yeah. Right? That's as simple as it needs to be in terms of the judging making decisions. That's comparative judging. The reason I say I don't think kind of prelims work that well is because what you're doing is you're rank ordering people. And if you've got judges for how long are the prelims at Summer Dance for 300 dancers?
Like if you're doing
a few hours, right? Yeah. If any of you have actually sat in a judging chair and judged people for hours, it's exhausting. Yeah. You're making constant decisions. You don't get time between the two people or the more people on the floor to make your marks. You have to come up usually with an arbitrary system that you have to create because the event organizers don't give you a system by which to organize, usually. If they do, you have to learn that system just before the event. Sometimes they have training, but rarely. And then you have to sit there and pay attention and focus constantly for hours. And you're looking for the most minute details. And you're trying to remember 300 dancers. That's mental. Yeah. If any of you have never done this, just go and watch the prelims. Are they still up on thingy? They are. Yeah. Thank you. Right. Go and watch the prelims.
And make a top 24.
Make a top 24. And then give a reason for every single one of those 24 being there, and then give a reason why the other 276 shouldn't be there. do that, and then do that within the same time that they have that within the event.
Yeah.
If you can, brilliant. Please do that and pass that knowledge on to the event organizers and be constructive in your feedback that way. If you can't do that, what I would say is just give some understanding, like we did with Brother Bin earlier, to a situation where people can make mistakes, or a situation is kind of designed for someone to, in this instance, basically not do the best job.
Yeah.
I would say.
And like go to the event knowing that there is no system. Like, you know, if you go to the event, you're kind of and again, I'm not saying to be quiet, but it's like, we've known this for years. So if you're entering that and still being surprised, well, like, that's kind of on you a little bit. Or if you know how to change it. And it's like, I think that, you know, in a way, like, there has been a resistance. Like, I feel like breaking has now more implemented like judging systems, you know, much more than stand-up styles.
Years ahead, yeah.
And it's kind of like, I think there's a resistance to it because there's a fear that it's gonna like kind of take something away, or, you know, put in a structure that's gonna change things too much. But for me, it's more like, maybe we need to look at it as a tool instead of as a system.
Absolutely, man.
You know, it's like, how do you make and track decisions better? So it's like, so that you have a tool to help you do that, as opposed to something that tells you what you should be choosing, which...
Yeah, I completely agree, man. The marketing, I completely agree with what you're saying. I think the marketing around things is so important, and our associations with certain words is really important, right? Like, there's certain things that we feel weird about just because we hear a certain word. I think when people hear system, they hear control.
Yeah, and like box.
Yes, I think so. And I think you're right. And it's literally just a tool to, help you make decisions, yes, but it's more about your ability to be able to be transparent about them and communicate about them. Like, at least I think that should be it. So like, when the nuance there being, when I say that, yes, it can help you make decisions, it is that it helps you think more critically, and it helps you be more conscious about the biases that you have and try to forcibly remove them as much as possible, which is really important.
Which it would be really important to have in a thing, because it's like what you were saying about the you know, okay, for exercise, you try to go watch the whole prelims on YouTube, and remember that like for probably 3 to 4 hours, you have to make a decision every 45 seconds.
Yes, it's very tough.
Tough. You have to make a decision. You might have to make 2 decisions every 45 seconds about this person and that person, and then go and go and go. And you're probably allowed to pee once or twice and eat a banana in the midst of all of that. So yeah, so it's like, I'm not saying it's perfect. I think there are for sure people who judge who are biased, consciously or not. But I also want to it's their job and they're getting paid to be there. But also it's like they're kind of put in a situation that is really cognitively is complex to handle. And
yes, man.
And I feel like, okay, we should try as a community and event organizers to put more tools to be able to enable them to do their job better. But until that's in place, then can we also give them a little bit of grace?
Yeah, really, but also as well, I think you raise a really good point about it being an incredibly cognitive task.
Yeah.
Right? And I think we have to admit, when there are people that talk about all the time, I think Kev is one of those who says it a lot, which is that just because you're a good dancer, it doesn't mean you'll be a good judge.
Yeah.
Right? Just like we've all been to someone's class who's a fantastic dancer, but the class kind of sucks a little bit. Right. And it's and I don't mean that to call anyone out, but just to say that there is a skill at teaching, there's a skill at dancing, there's a skill at performing, and there's a skill...
names.
But there's a skill at judging as well. And I think if we're talking about judging being a very cognitive task, I think what we need to do as a community as well, or communities, is we need to be honest about who we want in those seats, and not just say that we want someone to be there because they're a name in a battle scene. Because if we want to trust someone who is cognitively up to it, I think we have to really remove our egos and say, can I be in that position? Can do I want the person that I like to be in that position, or do I want someone that I trust to be in that position who cares about doing the job well? And I think we also have to admit, and this is the horrible thing, right? Some people are just cleverer than others. It's not nice, but just like your brain is a physical thing. Some people are stronger, bigger, faster than others. Some people are cleverer than others. It just is the case. Some of us, and this is a hard lesson to learn, I've learned this many times, sometimes we get told things about a subject and we don't have the ability to understand what we're being told. I think we have to be able to say, oh, I don't have the chops to be able to talk about this or contribute to this conversation right now. Some people cannot contribute to the judging conversation because they're still saying that the systems that are in place, that have been in place for breaking, for example, for like 5-10 years, are deciding how people should dance and prioritizing certain moves or points, whatever. Some people just don't know what they're talking about. And I think you need to take a step back politely and respectfully and just say, cool, I don't know, this isn't for me, or this isn't for me right now, and I need to learn a little bit. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Leah's saying respectfully, sit down. No. But
kind
of, but it's like, no, but take a seat. But yes. Okay. So I think last thing about summer dance, because this is the capsule and we're all about the UK. I want to highlight Evian that made it to the finals. In hip hop with Spider, and they were actually like a really good pairing.
Is it?
Yeah, I think they had a nice chemistry together. So he did really well, and he lost in his first round against Zico, and then got called back and made it to the finals.
Brilliant.
So this is also an example of like why I think there is something nice in that concept of like bringing back somebody who's been eliminated and bringing back. It used to be that it was just one person who would get brought back, but now there's like 8 people that get brought back. So I think it's nice for also like those, especially like younger generations, and like the guy who won with Majid, Sapo, his name was, from Brazil. You could clearly, like, he also got eliminated in, I can't remember if it was his first or second round, but you can clearly see that like it meant so much to him to win, that it meant so much to win with Majid, that that's like nice. That's sweet. So it's kind of like creating those moments is also like really what I think these things can be about, and it's not solely about that, but it was like some really nice moments that came from that. So Evian did amazing. Omni also repped. I don't know if you want to say something about Omni, if you want to write him a love letter.
Mate, I think Omni is just brilliant, man. I think he's so free, and he's so not afraid to be himself and to add his character in literally everything that he does. And I think when I watched him battle Day Day, there was a stark difference between their abilities in terms of the physical, in terms of their control of the dance. And I haven't seen Day Day dance in years. I'm assuming this is her coming back after a long hiatus. So I think that probably plays a lot into it. And Day Day was incredible a few years back, just tearing up the whole dance scene. So it's nice to see him kind of just really compete against someone that has such experience. But I think he's so good, man. I think, and he's still so rough around the edges in a lot of areas, which shows me that, and I've seen his growth for the last few years. Yeah. So it just shows me that he's got so much more to produce, and I just think he's going to be, incredible.
Yeah, man. Like you can see that he is incredible, and he's already at such a high level, but you can also see like he hasn't even peaked yet.
No.
Like
got a high ceiling.
Yeah.
Very high.
And I also think he has like a great kind of like character, like a persona and character when he performs. And I did feel like watching popping that this is something that is really missing in a lot of poppers.
Say more.
Like it's very kind of like, but they're not here.
No.
Like I feel like there's a lot of especially I don't know in popping if it's because it's more contained and it's very technical, but I feel like this is something that like a lot of dancers just get into this zone of like it's almost like nobody's home, and even if they're dope dancers, it's like they're not necessarily like engaging, playing, and so that performance aspect gets a little lost. And I thought that that was something that Jin and GK, who won, really, both of them had it. Like, they were so like present.
Yes.
You know, but I think it's also a great quality that Omni has, you know, and he can get into the robot thing where it's like very much like this, kind of like, you know,
glassy eyes.
Yeah, but that's part of a character.
Yes.
And then when he snaps out of it, he like snaps out of it and is present.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
You know, playing into that as a character is like, yeah, I mean, anybody can do what they want. But I think if that's kind of your default mode, for me, it loses, like, it becomes a lot less interesting to watch.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think each style attracts a certain type of personality.
Yeah.
And I think popping tends to attract a kind of a techie introvert, usually.
Yeah.
In that kind of sense. They really like to play with details and quite insular. But I think, I think you're right. I think someone like Omni, he takes the aspects of performance dances like kind of like the whacking ballroom stuff, crump and that stuff, and just kind of not necessarily does it in their way, but that those aspects where they kind of, it's almost like baked within the dance to perform well. He has that naturally, his level of performance. And when you're dancing outside of your own space, whether it's a studio, your house, your boys or whatever, it's necessary, I think, to be one of the great dancers, or even just to be effective in the arenas that you're in, to be able to connect with the people in the room. And he does that so well. Jin, like you mentioned, is another one. I think that guy is so good, man.
He's so good. He was so good.
He's so good, man.
He was on fire.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing about Summer Dance is the live stream.
Oh, okay? Yeah, go on.
So I watched almost all of I watched the live streams for popping, whacking, and hip hop. And I thought it was really interesting because we're evolving, and I think Summer Dance is really leading the way and doing it in a great way of like the live stream experience and how that is packaged for people who can't make it. I think it's great to have like a section of it that's free and a section of it that's behind a paywall. These things are not free to produce. So sure. I wouldn't expect the whole thing to be available for free. And I was thinking and like reflecting a lot about the breaks, like in between the battles. Where there was like 15-20 minutes of content that was made specifically for the live stream experience. So they went around and interviewed people about like asking different questions, like about what they're wearing, what kind of music they like to listen to, asking people how they prepare for battles. And although like I appreciate they're testing different ideas, because in past years they had things that were more like kind of in a separate room upstairs, and then they were kind of discussing like what happened in the battle and like kind of maybe giving more historical context about the dance and all of that. But I just thought this year when I was watching it, I just feel like not like I wasn't sure what the direction was, but it was like going around asking people like, oh, what song do you like to train to? And it's like, oh, I like to train to this song by Missy Elliott. Okay, who do you like to train to? And it's kind of asking these really short, like almost like short content kind of questions, but that are into a 15-minute segment. And I was just thinking like the storytelling of that, if you're thinking of an audience, like, is that of interest to people who are heavily into dance? Is that of interest of people who don't know anything about dance but might like have ended up on your channel and watching this? Like, who is this content for? Because as someone who like, I'm not actively battling, but I'm also not like I know nothing. I just felt like it missed something to hook me and to make it really interesting. And so I wonder about this like thing of storytelling, you know, and of what that like those in between bits could be to be like really high value, like a high value thing that makes you hooked and makes you want to stay until the finals. And I was just kind of thinking, you know, for myself, I would want it to be almost like a sport. Like, I don't even watch sports, but you know, in between where they're like, oh, this player was injured last season.
Pundits, yeah.
And like, this is when he's back, and you can really see that he's like on his game and blah, blah, blah. And like, to comment on what's happening and give me more context, because even if I'm more into like, I know more about popping and whatnot, it's kind of like there's something happen in hip hop where I see called back. Oh, shit, who did he call back? What's his name? His name is escaping me now. Sophia will look for it. But he was like, I'm calling back somebody not because I danced with him, not because he's with me, but because we've beefed a lot. And he's someone who like, we've gone back and forth. Rubik's, that's it. He's like, Rubik's, we've like had a lot of back and forth and like tension between us. So that's who I'm calling to dance with me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's cool.
That's interesting.
So then it was like, in the break, I want to hear about that.
You have to
like,
you have to talk to them in the break. Yeah.
And I want to be like, what was the beef? Like, because I'm not in the know, I want to know what the beef was. I want to know.
Did that settle it? Like, yeah.
Like, kind of bring me into the world. So these are the kinds of insights that, like, as an audience member from home, like, that's kind of what I would be looking for in those 15 minutes, more so than somebody, like, than a random person in a lineup saying, like, I like Lady Gaga's video clip. Like, it's cool. And I think it's like, I can see also that they're, over the years, they've tried different things. And I think it's great to experiment. And they've done, like, the production value is always great. They have a lot of good qualities. But I just feel like that's an area that could be improved. And that has, like, tremendous potential.
Yeah. And I feel like I think it's good to look at, especially the point you just made there, if they are trying things like over the years. I think which is a lot to ask of someone when we don't know all the team involved in running the event. It's not our baby, it's not our thing, it's not our business, it's not our contribution to the scene in any way. So it's kind of really, really nice that they are trying these different things.
Yeah.
And a lot of things, when you try new stuff, a lot of the time it's going to be misses. So the fact that they can even get things going to a good standard is really impressive. I think this is like, I would say, I think all of these are really good contributors to trying to make the event better over the years. I think with the live stream, I think you're right. I think they're really onto something. I think that not all they need to do. I think a really good thing for them to do, if they would consider this, is to look at the places where these things are already being done really well. So there are already people who are massive in celebrity life and cultures around the world because they come from streaming. So because they've been on is it
Twitch?
Twitch, that's it. Yes, yeah. They go on Twitch, they do a bunch of stuff, and they stream all the time. So it's like, in that aspect of being able to talk directly to an audience and be able to engage with the audience in the chat straight away, that's really great. And then you're right, like, sports do it brilliantly. Like, if you like, most of us who dance watch football anyway, right? So it's immediately, the second it comes to half time, you cut to a person who's on the mic telling you exactly what's about to happen, and then you cut into the side studio and they're talking about analysis of the game straight away, and you got that for 15 minutes. It's super engaging. And then the second they come out and are on the pitch, you've got talking until literally the whistle blows and the kickoff for the second half, right? And there's so much that they've got as a rhythm in presenting these things for people to be engaged. Like you said, the amount of people that watch football who aren't playing it competitively, but they don't know nothing about it, like you're saying, like us, right? Who want to know and be involved in it as much as possible. And there's a lot that to be said about punditry. And I think there are lots of people that are willing to give advice and tips, or that can be hired to give these things that will ultimately provide a better experience, which will get your event more money, right? If we're looking at it in that way, right? So I know that one of the commentators for Red Bull, I think it was Kev actually, he said like he wanted some advice, and Red Bull paid for him to go and do some training with a football commentator. Yeah. And he gave him a bunch of advice, and he said like it changed how we approached all of it going forward. And that's completely transferable skills to a completely different thing. And I think there are so many areas within streaming, within online platform, like you said, that should happen, because I think you should be putting stuff behind a paywall if you're putting it online. I think you should. It's a good business move, but I think if you're going to do that, I think you need to offer people something that they are paying for, which is not just the battles, but I think you need to provide a bit more of a service, and I think it's going to get people to come back and pay it again.
Yeah,
I think so. But.
Yeah, no, definitely great point. And I think it's like, with that said, you know, again, like, this is not me like shitting on what they're doing at all, because it's like they are paving the way in a lot of ways for us, or like even future events, to look at what they've done and say, I don't like that. Okay, but then it means they don't have to try it, because they've already, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I think the fact that they've kind of done a bunch of different things is like great, and that they keep on trialing it. I just think, you know, live streaming is it's not the future, because I think being live is always like the experience itself. But if you're branching out into something else, then, you know, as much as we give like thoughts and efforts and like ideation time to like concept of battles and like, you know, like into the event itself, then there's also like, you know, developing that also takes a lot of work and a lot of like thinking and a lot of dedicated effort. And I'm sure that, you know, they have a team doing that, because it's been improving and it's been like having changes every year.
I think so.
So I think it's like moving in the right direction. I'm just kind of putting my 2 cents into like what I think could be improved.
But I think they need it. I think, like, you know, it's like when you like,
hire me.
Absolutely. Hashtag hire Jen for hosting. Absolutely. Hashtag hire Lee for telling you about judging. Absolutely.
Jeez.
But I think like I think they need this. I think imagine this is kind of, I think, the benefit of social media in that sense, right? Or like kind of like online communication in that sense, right? Is that you have an event, and then afterwards, for like a week or so afterwards, everyone just gets to express their opinions for free. You don't need to do like focus groups on like, what did you like? You just get to go and read and listen to what people are saying. So I think like what you're saying right now, I think is perfect for them.
Yeah. Right. We had other topics, but we are running out of time. So this has been an exclusive Summer Dance episode. If you haven't hit that bell button yet, make sure you hit it. Like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think about like the opinions, and also like who you think, you know, maybe should have made it through, ideas about judging, what you would have liked to see in the live stream if you watched that. Like kind of let us know what you thought about, you know, if there's any points that you majorly disagree or agree. And yeah, we will see you next week. I love you and I miss you so much.
I don't love you or miss you that much, but it was nice.
See you next time.